Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us for a special evening edition, or I should say morning edition for anyone joining us from Australia. But yeah, happy to do a little bit of a different schedule here to accommodate great guests. We're going to be taking a look at Shovel. We've got the Femojis team here. I'll let you guys introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Thanks for that. Yeah, the Aussie time zone doesn't work too well for the morning US basis, so appreciate changing it up a bit for us. No, it's good to catch up and talk about sort of things we've been building. Things are often a bit quiet in the Bitcoin space at the moment, but there's lots of building happening. I think like people don't realize how much is getting built. I mean, Arch has been doing stuff for months and months, and it's like there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So it's cool to chat more about it. And yeah, it's keen to chat about it.
Yeah,
Probably my turn. Is it my turn now? Hi, I'm Donnie. I don't really have a lot else to say right now. I'm Donnie. I help Sanj do stuff because Sanj is one person, and now he gets to be like 1.5 Sanjes or 1.4 Sanjes because I am around him sometimes. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it. I'm excited to have this conversation. Look at, what you're doing specifically with Shovel, but I wanted to start with, just a little bit of background. Obviously we've got, new audience, overlapping audience. You guys have been in the Bitcoin space for quite some time. With emojis and if people aren't familiar, this isn't the first kind of product that you've built. So I kind of wanted to, just take it all the way back and see if you could just start with, your background. How'd you get into the Bitcoin space? Obviously, that takes us back to like early 2023 with Genesis emojis, some of those early inscription numbers with that collection, and then the expansion collection. But what I think people are not necessarily aware of, unless you're a holder or you're deep in the ordinal space, is that you guys have also built some tooling around ordinals, and that's kind of where this story continues now with the launch of Shovel. So, wondered if you could kind of give us some background in how you got into the space, and then what you've done so far, and then we can kind of dig into Shovel a little bit from there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a long story really because it's been a while. We've been here for close to 3 years now. But basically, like I think like a lot of people, I owned Bitcoin before Ordinals, but there wasn't a lot I could really do with the Bitcoin. I basically just held Bitcoin, and so I would I bought NFTs and bought and sold and traded NFTs mainly on ETH, sort of the early 2021 and onwards, and I liked it. And I'd had the idea of creating a collection for a while, but didn't love a lot of the stuff on ETH. And then, like you said, when Ordinals came about, sort of early 2023, we were pretty much as soon as we saw it, we're like, we've got to do this. And luckily we had the artwork ready, and so we put that on as our Genesis emojis, which were early inscriptions. I mean, compared to what we have now, they were sort of 18 to 24,000 inscription range, which is kind of cool to get artwork on there. And then yeah, ever since we've basically just been full time on Bitcoin, sort of building out the community. For a long time, it was just building out the community, and like you said, we expanded into our 2.0 collection, which is what a lot of people see now. It's 2,000 supply, so we can get a few more people in because it's always hard with only 100 inscriptions in the first collection to get a big enough community. So we've been building out that community for that was probably it's yeah, it was December last year, wasn't it? The year before. So
23.
yeah,
Yeah, December 23.
Okay.
yeah. So
23, and then 24 was, it was around for all of that time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's been a while now since 2.0. So and I mean, we're always, like you said, we've been quite technical in a lot of things. My brother, who's Vanix, he still works full time, but he's sort of our main developer, and he's when he can like ask him if he can do this, he's like, yeah, no worries, and he just manages to work out how to do it. So he can build a lot of cool stuff, and we've done a lot of cool stuff with the tech side of things, and that's kind of why we ended up branching out into Shovel. So Generate Order is our other tool that we built, which you probably a lot of collections that you see these days are actually made using Generate Order with the recursive tech that we built with that. It's basically I mean, anyone can do recursion, but it's a bit confusing for the non-technical people. So it's a tool that you can sort of you just drag and drop traits into it, and it builds the recursive files for you. So it makes it a lot easier for people to create collections. So that's a bit more niche, but we basically built that because we wanted to help people. We had like, I mean, it was probably hundreds of people asking us to help with the collections on Bitcoin, and we're like, we can't help everyone individually, so we built this tool that they can use. So yeah, a lot of collections use it, which is cool. But we kind of it's always pretty niche. It's only for founders. So we wanted to start building something where anyone can use. And so that's where Shovel, we sort of thought, well, Shovel, it's a tool. It can be used. It's pretty broad ranging. So we thought, well, why not build something that's not specifically dedicated to one sector or niche of Bitcoin, but it can be used in anything. If something's got attention, we'll probably try and implement it. So that's why at the moment it's Alkanes and BRC 2.0, which at the moment there's not a lot of activity with any shit on Bitcoin, but
Yeah.
sort of where we
Well, at the end of the
you go.
looking at what you're doing here, so you've got your inscription tooling for ordinals, very much facing people who are launching collections, because at the end of the day, it's not like a crowdsourcing tool. This is still people who are inscribing their collection with the intent to launch it, right? So very much like a working with teams, like you mentioned. So, what's the did you always think that you were going to kind of like continue into like fungible tokens on Bitcoin, or more DeFi on Bitcoin, or what's sort of like the inspiration there?
Yeah, no, it's a good question because it's something that I'd wrestled with for a long time. And we built Generate Order, it would have been pretty soon after 2.0 release, so probably early 2024. So that's been around a long time, and it was always very niche. Like, not many people needed it, but the people who needed it used it a lot because they were creating like big collections. So it worked really well for that. But I'd always thought, well, we should have a basic inscribing tool just because anyone can use it. It's much easier, and so I think like yeah, that's where Shovel sort of came in. We thought, well, not necessarily at the moment. There's not a lot of demand, but we think in the future there's going to be things that come up that are going to need easier sort of consumer facing interfaces, and that's where we can. Now we've built sort of the framework behind it. We thought about implementing it into Generate Order, but it was a bit. I guess it would have been a bit segmented and a bit confusing with like this recursive platform and then all this other stuff. And so Shovel's more. It'll be able to encompass all different things. So maybe, I mean, we might do something with Archer, who knows? We'll sort of see how we go. But if there's tools that are needed, we want to try to implement them and sort of make it easier for people. So yeah, it's not directly fungibles, but a lot of it will be fungibles because that's where a lot of the activity happens and a lot of the minting happens. But I mean, we're still really big on art on Bitcoin, and that's sort of our main thing with our community. But there's not a lot that people need in that front in terms of tooling and that sort of thing. Like most of it's, and simple inscribing is fairly easy nowadays. So we thought, well, why not build some stuff for the fungibles that, I mean, people need them. It's not, I don't think we necessarily endorse any of the tokens because a lot of it is going to go to zero, but people are going to do it. And so if they're going to do it, we might as well give them an affordable way to do it because a lot of these platforms can get pretty high on fees. So it's, yeah, it's sort of good to have it out there and ready to go for when we think things might happen. And yeah, we'll sort of build out from there. It's much easier to iterate and tweak things now that it's live and we've got everything set up. So it's going to be interesting going forward.
So live, I think I did see already that it was live, so people can go and mint tokens. It's just just Alkanes and BRC20 currently, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it's just Alkanes and BRC 2.0, which were the sort of, I guess, the two more recent things that have had a bit more activity. Minting slowed down in a lot of cases, which I think, in a way, isn't a bad thing. A lot of money was getting spent to fees, so it's. I was always a bit torn on it, as like there's these solutions that are decent, like we've got Odin Fund and Radfi, but people are still going to mint things no matter what. They can't help themselves, and so we thought, well, let's at least have something there that people can use if they want to use it. And so yeah, it's Alkanes and BRC 2.0 at the moment. I don't think we're going to get into Sparks, the big one now. I don't think we'll get into that, but yeah, I still think the Alkanes ecosystem is going to be pretty big. It's still, I mean, it's very early in the grand scheme of things, and so that's probably going to be one of the main focuses. But again, we'll kind of adapt with the market and move with what's happening at the time.
Right. And I've not used the platform though. I did take a look at, the site, but if anybody's listening and if you're a user, I mean, I'd be curious how it goes, and if you have questions or anything, then you can feel free to request and come up. But so when it comes to like the trading and minting experience with these other tokens, because to be honest, I've been much more of in runes tokens, and not even recently, as you mentioned, fungible tokens are a little bit dead on Bitcoin, even though they're not. But how does it compare when it comes to I guess like the cost, the trading experience? At the end of the day, it's just a minting platform ultimately, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty simple. So we've made our transactions quite efficient, so it is pretty cheap, and our fees are lower than Unisat and most of the other big ones, which is kind of part of the reason we did it, because a lot of these platforms have pretty high fees. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We wanted to make it as simple as possible. You basically log in, click what you want to mint, and then mint it, because it can be. I mean, the one thing with Bitcoin is it's still pretty confusing for people, and it's like us people that use it every day, it's easy, but onboarding new people still find it a bit confusing. So we tried to make it as simple of a UI as possible. Just log in, click a button, mint, and then it's there. It can still be a bit confusing, and there's still work to do, because Bitcoin minting is not ideal as things can get front run and that sort of thing. So it's a lot of it is about messaging for that, because there's no real way to stop it, which is frustrating. But yeah, that's the main thing. It's nothing too revolutionary necessarily. We wanted it to be as simple as possible for people to use. And yeah, I mean, if there are things that we think might be beneficial, then we'll add them in. But like you said, minting tokens is a fairly standard thing, and so we just wanted to give a tool that their holders and that can use, and not have to pay as much in fees.
Right, and I feel like that approach is kind of like the way to go, to have a simple user experience, something that people can be like easily familiar with, and it's like approachable. So you feel like that's what the platform is ultimately doing, is kind of like focusing on having a uniform experience as opposed to which token it is that you're minting.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's we tried to make, I mean, Alkanes and BRC 20 are two different, I guess, protocols, but minting them on our site's pretty much the same. You just click the token name and press mint. So it's and we could implement rooms as well. We thought about that, but I think Radfi is a better solution for that at the moment, because people don't get front run and that sort of thing. So it's, but yeah, I think like you go on a lot of these sites, and like you say, you have to inscribe and click, and it can get confusing when people are thinking like they have to create a JSON or whatever. And it's easy when we do it a few times, but we wanted people to basically just log in and click a button and they get their tokens. So it's, yeah, it's trying to simplify things as much as possible, which, I mean, we all understand the tech of it, and so we don't mind it, but new people coming in don't want to learn all these new things about like JSON and alkanes and protostones and runestones and all this stuff that like means nothing to them. They just want to click buttons and mint. So that's the goal. And when there's new protocols that might come out, we might implement them, and it'll be the same experience. It's sort of like Bitcoin meme coins rather than specific different things that they have to try and wrap their head around.
Right. And also, like RadFi is they're much more than just minting, because there's the whole like bootstrapping liquidity and AMM and smart contract infrastructure, that whole like approach, which that's not necessarily what Shovel is doing. Right. You're ultimately just leveraging the protocols themselves into your platform, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we wanted to keep it as simple as possible because I mean, Femojis is still our main priority, and that's where we'll be doing a lot of stuff over the next sort of couple of years still. But we wanted this is something that's fairly self-sufficient once we've built the infrastructure. It's basically just a front end for, and anyone can do it with their node on Bitcoin. They can mint these things, but most people don't because it's confusing and it's not as easy. So it's more just a front end interface that people can easily do these things. Click buttons and take out all the confusing tech side of it. So that's the main reason for it. We did think about making something much more complex in terms of a full sort of trading platform, but there's a lot of time and effort goes into that, and we think our focus is still better focused on Femojis because it's that's a full time like big team, like you're building an Odin fund sort of thing. It's quite a big lift. So yeah, our main focus is still Femojis, but this is something that we basically had all the infrastructure built for with Generator Order. And so we thought, well, we can just reskin the front end and tweak a few things to make it easy for people to mint. So it's we don't want it to be too complex because we want to spend our time on things for the community. But yeah, this is something that we thought we can do pretty easily, and it should come in handy once activity picks up again.
Yeah, definitely. Anything to, like support people's ability to, like dabble in what's going on when it comes to meme coins. And I mean, I'm curious, like, to hear like your take, Donnie, as well, with the concept around like meme coins on Bitcoin versus like this token standard. Because like the, a lot of the other ecosystems, I feel like it's not necessarily that way. It's either you are trading within Solana, Ethereum, or like a specific ecosystem, and you think about it that way as the ecosystem, not really the token standard. I don't even know if they necessarily have. I mean, I guess they do. They do have token standards, obviously, but I've never really found it to be much of a focus necessarily.
But they didn't have to solve the problem. I mean, they did, I guess, in the early Ethereum days, they had to solve the problem of figuring out the right token standard. And there were a few token standards before anything got mass adopted. But they have much more programmability. They can make decisions and just execute things. We have to like find ways to be nimble and move around this large immovable object and see if we can like bolt monkey bars to it. And a lot of the monkey bars that we bolt to it are going to be weird at first, and we're going to be trying to figure out which monkey bars we want to climb on. The good thing is if you develop a game on them, I'm going way too far down this metaphor. If you develop a game on the monkey bars that gets adopted and people really like the game, you can move the game to the other monkey bars later. So I don't think it's as much about picking teams. It's about deciding where you think makes the most sense to be, doing that thing, doing the heck out of it, trying to make it work, trying to be present in it. And then if that's the thing that wins, you don't have to move your game to different monkey bars. But if a different set of monkey bars wins, and let's say you're part of the dog army and that's a rune, and then Alkanes becomes the new standard, like the standard that everybody wants to use because it also has contract functionality, then just burn it. It's easy. Just burn it over. If the community is strong enough, you can burn something over and move it. You don't have to burn the dead ones because it doesn't even matter that they're where they are, right? So I've never been much of a token fan myself, but I think that play is really important. And I think as we get older, play stops becoming something that is presented to us or that we're like not shamed for. And I think NFTs and ordinals and tokens of all kind of games, contract games like with Alkane's Pandas, the Bamboo contract, and then the Bamboo dice roll thing. That's super fun. Like, not everything has to be this extremist DeFi functionality thing that has like one specific end goal. I mean, we have to have fun along the way, right? So, like, wherever the most fun is happening, I hope that's where people divert their energy, and I hope we're there to supply tools to make it easier for people to monkey around.
Yeah, some fun things happening with fungible tokens and meme coins on Bitcoin is definitely something that will provide some fresh energy and get, some of the like the energy going around the space. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to. But
We've had a few, but people aren't risk on yet. So like not everybody's really aping super hard into these things. I think as euphoria hits and people normal people become millionaires, albeit maybe briefly, they're gonna start doing weird stuff with their money because they're gonna have the concentrations of money their money wasn't before. And those people are gonna support whatever thing they think is fun and cool at the time. So I think we have a pretty hairy 6 to 12 months ahead of us. I'm super excited to see how it plays out.
right, and that's the other aspect is when you, as opposed to getting hyper focused into like token standards, it's we're more in the adoption phase of apps or tools or whatever it is that people like to use. And these are the things that tend to run up. I mean, one thing that obviously comes to mind is like Hyperliquid, which I feel like it came out of nowhere a little bit, but obviously the people that used it were rewarded for it, and now they've continued to have success because they've nailed it on having like a target audience, creating an app and user experience that actually works as that simple tooling for that user base, right? So I think that some of the things that are going to really propel us forward are going to be those like apps where people can quickly download it or access it, and in just like one or two simple steps be trading, and not really have to worry about like whatever the back end stuff is, just like seamless app user experience connected to a wallet. I think that sometimes like the whole depositing thing, people can get over it, like that it's not necessarily a big deal, but sometimes there's ways to get around that even as well if you have like the liquidity and like if people deposit, like you could even set minimums, like if people deposit, let's say 0.01 or something into an account, and you like are forwarding their ability to trade on that liquidity immediately, right? That's something that you could deal with if you have a large enough like multi-sig that has that Bitcoin in it on the front end. So being able to like you said, like get your way around some of these issues to create at the end of the day the experience of just connecting your wallet and trading are the things that I think are the most bullish.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, and what Donny touched on there a bit as well, is there's so many different token standards that like it's one of the biggest issues in Bitcoin is there's too many token standards, and it's spreading not just liquidity but attention to too many places, and we didn't necessarily want to lock ourselves on one token standard as much as I wish there was just one token standard. I feel like we need time for it to, I guess, play out and see which one is the. Hopefully, we get to a point where we see a leading token standard. I think it's not great that we're seeing more token standards coming in rather than less because it's just splitting more liquidity.
Forever.
Um,
More token standards forever. It's never either for what.
I get why people do it because it's a new, exciting, shiny new thing. But I think we got to ask ourselves why in some cases. And um, I think runes, which Alkane's is, I guess, built off in a sense. It's similar in a lot of ways. Is pretty good. It's not ideal, but I think there's ways that we can make it happen. I mean, so much has been spent by people on these tokens already. They don't want to just leave it and go to some new token standard that'll probably go up for a few weeks and then go down again. But yeah, that's why we sort of wanted to keep it pretty open and not just be like Alkane's inscriber or whatever it is, like what most of the tools are called or whatever, like just generic one protocol sort of tool. So we want it to be pretty wide ranging, and so we'll be able to move with whatever's happening at the time. Because while I wish we'd just stick to one thing, unfortunately on Bitcoin it seems like it's always going to be going from one thing to the next to the next. So we've made it easier to implement new things pretty quickly. And yeah, we'll just sort of go with the market. I think it's it's definitely a weird place in Bitcoin at the moment with so many different things happening, but nothing really getting too hot. So it's I think it's part of it is time we need, and like Donnie said, people are going to make money and they're going to want to spend it somewhere. But orders and the Bitcoin ecosystem still pretty early in the grand scheme of things. So I think we got to be patient sometimes, which is hard when you're seeing like crypto moves fast and prices are moving slow. But I think that's like we've got to realize that it's still it's not even 3 years into ordinals, which is pretty crazy. So I think we'll get there over time, but it's a slow process, but it's fun to build stuff on it and move with things as it goes.
Right. And some of, the stories, when you get to like the old stories, I think for some of the existing legacy collections, we'll call them on ordinals, and because eventually, Ord itself will upgrade to even have like standardized metadata and like all of these things that we know about. And parent child, I think, will eventually be something that's just like standard. People will use it all the time. So you've got all this like legacy collections. And there's the whole like cursed thing, which Femojis did like the cursed collection, which is cool. So there's all kinds of these like aspects where I think that they serve as like part of the canvas, part of the lore, part of like getting in with the current meta. But ultimately I think that these when it comes to like the legacy like brands, so not just ordinals but even like fungible tokens on Bitcoin, when you think about like Ordi, and like the way it launched, it has that similar aspect to it, right? So being BRC20 and like all the takeoff and run up, despite the friction. And then obviously runes came, but eventually, like, though it's part of the story and like the founding, it's much more becoming like the brand taking over. Right. Like we think about like Dog on Bitcoin, Billy, because and even a few weeks ago we had Leonidas on the show, and he pointed out like they launched a Billy token on Solana and it's dead. It doesn't have a community that's stuck around, like an existing group of holders that wants the token to exist for the sake of the meme or for the sake of like whatever it is. So each one of them is going to eventually have their like long-term place regardless of like what it is. It's almost even like regardless of whether it's like an ordinals or like a meme coin community. Because what do people say? It's just like low cap, low supply meme coins. That's what NFTs are, anyways.
Yeah, it's definitely like I think, like you said, the longer we go on, we're going to see the things that stick around. And I think Bitcoin, which I always thought a lot of people are trying to make greens and fungible tokens on Bitcoin like the future of finance sort of thing. They're never going to be a technical feat compared to Solana. I think like it's more about tokenizing culture and the culture of these things, like the Audi culture of, while it's mainly the Asian market, I think we can't underestimate that is a huge part of I guess Ordinal's success and then fungibles token success as well. And that's where I wasn't a huge fan of BRC20, but I felt like the Asian market really like it, and I think it's worth tapping into if we can. But yeah, it's a weird one because these things are, it's always moving and changing. I think the culture, like you were saying, and the law behind it is not going anywhere. And I think that's probably the biggest thing in Bitcoin. Like no one other than, there's a few like Pepe and a few of the big ones on other chains, but most of them, like you said, they go up and down. Whereas Bitcoin, it's much slower, but there's generally a set number that everyone knows about that is sticking around, and the communities are still strong, even though the prices might not be going how they want. And I think that's part of the benefit of tokens on Bitcoin, is how slow it is and how, I guess, how rudimentary it is. I think that's kind of the beauty of it. It's like, we're not trying to micro trade these things. It's like you buy and you hold it for a year. And that's kind of the idea behind these things, of building a cult or a movement, is you don't trade a movement, you just buy the movement and hold the movement and stick around with the movement. So I think that's where tokens on Bitcoin are beneficial, but it's still finding its feet. I think it's, we still don't quite have the liquidity to sustain it, but hopefully that comes over time.
Right, and inevitably, you also have like there's tokens that you're holding, and they are like long term because you're more active in the community or whatever it is, and then people are still trading also. I think for like teams that are like continuing to build in the space as the space continues to evolve, and you stay nimble, then there's more things that are going to, like continue to exist. Like, that's the whole point, is that we're kind of like heading out into an unknown territory when it comes to like building an entire ecosystem and economy around tokenized assets, and coming back to Bitcoin and like unlocking the capabilities around that again. I think that they do, they're dictated by the limitations on the builders a lot more than people realized. And that's what we spent like like 2023 and into 24 figuring out. And then we've made it through like big downturns, obviously, in collection values, on both sides of things. And now I think as the ecosystem like matures again, it's going to be the enablement of builders who like came and stayed, and then ultimately figured out ways to push the capabilities forward. And obviously that's what Arch is all about, enabling people to develop experiences on Bitcoin that rival those like app experiences where you've kind of like abstracted away this disconnection from holding your Bitcoin and dabbling with whatever token experiences that you're talking about. So it started with like those basic, the token standards themselves, right? You have to have the asset standards to be able to issue the assets on Bitcoin. So now you have pairings of not just non-fungible tokens on Bitcoin, but fungible tokens on Bitcoin. And when you add tooling around that, then in my mind, you're ultimately unlocking the greatest like rollback to Bitcoin strategy that removes all of the layers of friction, or at least as many as possible. And you can get into like like trade-offs when it comes to trust assumptions and things like that, and the dreaded layer 2 discussion, and like what exactly is it. At the end of the day, Arch is a decentralized environment that's plugged directly into Bitcoin that creates those user experiences where you're just connecting your wallet signing a Bitcoin transaction and trading on the assets. So anytime you're like enabling people to do that more, then I think that we're building in the right direction. So that's one of the things that I like the most about like Femojis, what you guys are doing, what you're about. So just wanted to take a look at Shovel and talk to you guys directly about your whole like philosophy behind it and where you're headed. I am curious though, like you say you're focused more on Femojis. Are there some things that you can talk about a little bit more about, like what you have in store, or maybe not specifics, maybe just more direction and philosophy and just wherever your thoughts are around that whole concept?
Yeah, definitely. We're sort of it's always changing, and we don't do a lot of, well, maybe don't do a lot front facing because we don't want to just release hundreds of collections and that sort of thing. But we're always working behind the scenes on different things, and I mean, one thing we always like to do is we like to do things that haven't been done before on Bitcoin, and like Femojis 2.0 was sort of revolutionary, as we were the first project to have a delayed reveal and sort of dynamic inscriptions with recursion. And so that was something pretty cool at the time. And we're sort of playing around. We've actually played around with a few different things that we don't think are quite ready to release. But there's just recently actually we've started on something that I think is something pretty cool that me and Donnie are working on. But we can't really say too much because it's yeah, we don't want to spoil too much. But yeah, that's always sort of the main focus, is trying to find something that hasn't been done before and that we think is worthwhile releasing, because we don't want to just release something for the sake of it. I think like Bitcoin is the legacy asset. It's where people's I guess you Bitcoin is here forever, and we want to put things that are going to be, I guess, noticeable and have meaning for a long time to come. We don't want to just throw out another copy paste collection. I mean, like we could easily create 7,000 more emojis. It wouldn't be hard, but
3.0.
I don't think that's I don't think that's exciting enough or worthy enough to be released. So we're sort of playing around with a few different things, and yeah, I think we're up to something pretty cool at the moment. But it's yeah, I mean, part of it is also timing. We don't want to rush things into the market when the market's not in a place for it, because I think like while it might feel slow and like nothing's happening, where like on Bitcoin it's sort of, we think in decades almost rather than in weeks on other chains. So it's like we want something that's going to be I guess have meaning for a long time to come, and so sometimes that takes a long time to happen. But I feel like we're onto something now, and I think it could be pretty cool. But yeah, it's not quite ready yet. But the other side of emojis is the IP side of it, which we do want to tap into a lot. And I think that's something that the Femojis is pretty unique compared to a lot of collections where a lot of them are fairly Bitcoin centric. Femojis is much more mainstream vibes compared to a lot of collections, which is what we went for, which didn't necessarily fit on Bitcoin at the time, but it feels like something. I mean, like Pizza Ninjas is the other example where it's much more palatable for just the general person, where they could be buying toys in a store or that sort of thing. So we're digging into that side of things as well. But yeah, it's all nothing to publicly release yet, but we're always playing around with things, and yeah, it's always fun because there's lots to do, and there's like there's so many ideas, like I should do this, should do that, but we want to make sure it's the right one and that it makes sense. So yeah, I feel like we're on something now. It's been fun the last few weeks playing around with it. And yeah, hopefully there's more to release soon.
Yeah, and when it comes to like IP and brand, and when you look at like the traits and the look of the collections, there's definitely much less of the whole like this is all Bitcoin focus, to the point of the memes don't even have a placement or overlap. Uh, like, and I think that Femojis even has like some traits that you won't find in any other collections. They're totally unique. I've definitely never seen pretzel rods anywhere else.
That's one of my favorites. It took me a long time to find out. Actually, the pretzel rod's my favorite.
Well, the funny part of that is it was like initially it was like just a guy smoking, but the main reason was because we wanted it to be palatable for like mainstream adoption. And like if you're buying a kid a toy, you probably don't want the toy to be smoking it. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter, but the pretzel is like a little bit more mainstream friendly. And so like that was a reason. It started as a cigarette and we're like, oh, let's change it to a pretzel road. And so it was like, but yeah, that's always been the I guess the long-term goal is to branch out into the mainstream with emojis. We've intentionally haven't done too much in that scene yet because we wanted to cement ourselves on Bitcoin and build the Bitcoin community. But I feel like that's always in the works and in the pipeline for the future because we've actually got a bunch of plushies made up that we haven't released yet, but they're pretty cool. But I think IP is that one thing it's very difficult to tap into. It's not easy, but the projects that do it well, I mean, you see Pudgy Penguins is the perfect example, but they're just dominating the IP scene, and it's a huge market for if it's done right. And I feel like this character is built for that. It's sort of the reasoning behind having such a it's not a simple character necessarily, but a fairly simple character and something that resonates with kids. I mean, I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, their kids love these," and like I show my nieces and they love it. So it's like that is the long-term goal for the Femoji side of it. There'll be other stuff we do that are not Femojis directly, but yeah, we still think Femojis long-term will be an IP kind of play, which Pizza Ninjas, I think, are showing the way in that sense at the moment. And holders all have 100% ownership rights of their Femojis. So anyone's, I mean, like, I don't think he's here, but Tickles, people probably know Tickles Snuff. He's doing some really cool stuff with his Femoji at the moment, he's creating like a children's book. And so that's the thing where I think the characters work really well for people to try and leverage that IP and leverage the community. Like if you do something with your Femoji, we're going to promote it and make it, hopefully get it seen. So I think it's still a very untapped thing, especially on Bitcoin. It's much more art focused, but I feel like as we keep growing as an ecosystem, IP will become bigger and bigger.
Yeah, cool. Well, definitely looking forward to see more brand activations around Femojis. And I mean, I like all of the, like call them expansions or like different collections that have happened so far. It's been cool. I would like to get there's one cursed one in particular that I think is cool. I'm partial to hoodies, and
Is it the pink beanie with the black bandana?
no, it's just like one of the simple basic ones. It just has like a black hoodie. I can't remember what all the traits are, but I think it had like a gray, super basic background. I don't know. I like the ones that are like minimal, less.
Yeah, there's some pretty clean cursed ones. They're fun to create because it was only 200, and so we tried to curate a few of them and make some pretty clean ones. Because I think like some of them are pretty crazy and wacky, but I reckon the clean ones sometimes go the hardest. Like really basic, like hoodie bandana. There are some cool ones in there. I think cursed definitely underrated. They're snuck in with the main collection, which confused a few people, but I still think the cursed are definitely underrated.
I still have no idea what people are supposed to like. Should OMBs be a different collection for reds, different for blue, different for green, different for orange, different for black? That's insane, right? But the cool ones get hidden because every marketplace is sorted by floor because it kind of has to be. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a marketplace. So, like, what do you do, right? Like, if you fragment it and people only think there is one collection, that's a problem. But then if you hide them in the other collection, that's a problem. It's like there's really no winning with that. You know, you just have to look. Like, you have to look. You have to want to find it, and then it's cooler when you find it because you had to look for it. Maybe that's kind of the way I view these things. Also, just to comment on like putting out tons of collections, not even tons, just like another, like Sam said, if we just put out 7,000 more emojis, you have to think like it's easy to do the default thing. And the thing that you expect is usually not the thing that you actually want, I think, like in general, or nor is it the thing that ever happens. So in order to be creative, you, not you, me, we want to look to solve problems. We want to look to explore new territory, see what new things can be done, not just for the sake of like doing new shit. Cause like, yeah, we can do new something, but like a new something that has intent and has like a purpose, maybe a new something that says something. I think some of the most impactful collections out there are the ones that make you feel, and they don't have to make you feel good. They make you feel anything at all. And then that's what you want to wear because it says something that you don't know how to say. Like you don't. I think what art is. This is a bold statement. I think because like who knows what art is, but art is something that says something for you when you don't know what the words are to express it yourself. So if we can find a way to tap into something that people are feeling, but no one knows how to say, I think that's a really important thing to do. I think we've done that with emojis. I don't think it's like it's the only thing that looks like it. You know, OMBs I think are for people who want change and want to actively seek it. And I think puppets are for people who want change, but are kind of apathetic about the path entirely, and they just want to make dick jokes about everything. Pizza ninjas are for people who are strong into IP and big community. I mean, like you can see it's easy to sort who fits where at the moment into the dominant collections anyway. What's missing? Like, what's the thing that there are people feeling who have never even thought about crypto before, or the people who are over on Ethereum and are like in between their Azuki and their Bored Ape, and they're like, none of this really is saying what I'm thinking. Like, what do those people think? What are they thinking after 7 years of being around these cycles? Are they sick of where they are? Do they need to express discontent? Do they need to express love? And like, what is it that they're trying to say, and how do we help them say that thing? Not just those people, but like any people who don't have an outlet.
Yeah, I think it's the thing that's like we often, I mean, which I hate the meta of first. It's the first that, but everyone's trying to make the first of something, and I think like we're not necessarily trying to make the first of something. I mean, it's probably what we do will be no one's done it before, which is kind of cool, but we want something that people think about and they instantly recognize, oh, they did this, they did that sort of thing, rather than like I think it's quite easy. I mean, like I said, we've helped hundreds of collections with Generator. It's very easy for us to put together a collection now, but it doesn't necessarily have meaning or long-term value, and we want something that's not meant to be easy because otherwise everyone would do it. It's well, like if it's easy, someone's done it. If they can think of it, it's not like, well, do this, no one's done it before. Well, if they knew what it was, then someone would have done it. So it's finding that thing that hasn't been done before is not easy. I think we've come up with something pretty interesting. It's partly conceptual artwork as well as the physical thing you see. And I think Bitcoin is perfect for that in terms of things you can do that have more. It's not just what you see. I mean, we've seen a lot in the past with sats, different sats or different ways of inscribing, like the cursed stuff. And so that's kind of where we like to play around with and do things that we don't think people will. I mean, one, they might not even do again. They might do it again, but also that people haven't done before, which is it's much easier said than done. I think you often see these collections every now and then pop up, and it gets a lot of attention because we haven't seen it before, and so that's always the goal: is find something unique and interesting that people want to get around, because it's gets pretty boring if we're just doing the same thing over and over again with a different face or a different smile or a different color. So it's like we want to try and make artwork that deserves to be on Bitcoin for a long time, and that's like yeah, I feel like we're onto something at the moment, so it should be fun to finally actually release what we're working on. But this is the first time we really talked about it, but it's yeah, should be fun once we get more into it.
Cool. We'll definitely be following along, and appreciate you guys coming. We're coming up on an hour here, and yeah, I can't think of any other questions I have. I think we've covered, everything pretty well here, so we'll probably go ahead and wrap up here in a minute. So if anybody has any like specific questions you want to come up last minute, then I guess we can do that. But other than that, we'll be wrapping up here shortly.
Ordinals are dead. Long live ordinals.
Well and truly, it's all over. It's all over. No, it's good. It's good to catch up. Thanks for having us on. It's good to talk about it. It's yeah, it's something we've sort of built on the side, and it's not our main focus. But I feel like when there's activity on chain, we'll be ready for it for Shovel to kind of adapt and get people playing around with Bitcoin, because it's yeah, we need more people on Bitcoin. So the easier we make it, the better it'll be, hopefully. So yeah, no, it's awesome to chat, and thanks for having us on.
Yep, for sure. And thanks everybody for coming and listening to this evening slash morning Bitcoin Builders episode. We do this space every week on Tuesdays, normally at 1 or 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. And next Tuesday we'll be back. I'm not sure who our guest is quite yet, so we'll come up with that announcement here a little bit later. But we will be back next Tuesday for Bitcoin Builders, so stay tuned for that. And we've got lots of updates coming from Arch. We've recently been wrapping up our audits and are hurtling towards mainnet launch, making final preparations. So watch out for more news, more announcements, and rollout coming very soon in the coming weeks. If you don't follow the main account, make sure you follow the main host of the space at Arch Network. Follow the guests, Sanj and Donnie, and make sure that you're following Femojis and Shovel and supporting all of the builders who are pushing Bitcoin forward. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll go ahead and wrap things up here.
Thanks, Brian. Have a wonderful night.
Yep. You too, Donnie.
Valley.